Hi again and welcome back. In the previous video we explored what game-based learning is and why it's particularly effective in STEM higher education. Today we'll shift focus to the practical side. How can you actually integrate GBL into your course or lab? How to design, facilitate and evaluate these learning experiences? Well, let's get into the how. Well, not all games are created equal, and not all games are educational. The first question to ask is, what learning objective am I targeting? Your goal will guide whether you need a simulation to explore dynamic systems, a logic puzzle to build problem-solving skills, a multiplier challenge to foster collaboration and strategy. You don't always need to design a game from scratch. There are existing tools, both digital and analog, that can be adapted. What matters is that the game is meaningful. The mechanism must support the learning outcomes. This is called meaningful play, when the action in the games led to the outcomes that matter both in the game's world and in the learning context. Keep in mind, simple mechanisms, clear objectives, and space for reflection are more important than flashy graphics or complex rules. The most common misconception is that you need to redesign the whole course. You don't. You can start with just one activity or a portion of a lesson and still have a meaningful impact. As integration strategies, we can mention pre-game briefing, set context and explain goals. In-class gameplay, use it for exploration, review or problem solving. And post-game debrief, discuss what happened, why it happened, and what can be learned. You can align GBL with project-based learning, flipped classroom or blended learning environments. And yes, it can be done online or in hybrid formats too. Many platforms support remote multiplayer interaction or solo play with analytics. GBL also works well in interdisciplinary setting. Think of games that blend statistics with social impact modeling or physics with game design. And as a teacher, in a GBL setting, your role shifts. You are not the one delivering the content. The game does that through structure and rules. Your job is to guide the exploration, help students make connection, and ensure the learning stays on track. As a facilitator, you have to clarify objectives and expectations, monitor group dynamics, especially in multiplayer or collaborative settings, prompt deeper thinking through questions, intervene when necessary to adjust pacing or resolve confusion, collect feedback during and after the session. Remember, a successful GBL activity doesn't end when the game ends. It ends when students have reflected, connected, and understood the learning behind the actions. Before we dive into the briefing, it's important to recognize one of the key cognitive benefits of game-based learning. It naturally activates metacognition. When students play a well-designed game, they are constantly monitoring their understanding, adjusting strategies, and reflecting on outcomes. This is more than engagement, it's a form of self-regulated learning. Pedagogical, that's gold. Metacognition helps students become aware of how they think and learn, which in turn improves retention, transfer, and autonomy. But to truly harness this potential, we need to support it intentionally, and then where the debriefing phase comes in. This is the most critical phase and one of the most often overlooked. Without the briefing, a game is just play. With the briefing, it becomes pedagogy. We can refer to these three steps. First, what happened? Factual recall of game events. Why did it happen? Analysis of cause-effect, strategies, and outcomes. And what does it mean? Connection to course content, real-world relevance, and broader principles. Debriefing can be guided discussions, reflective journals, peer presentation, or even concept maps. The goal is to make students articulate their learning, not just experience it. And of course, in STEM, link back to key frameworks, the scientific methods, system thinking, algorithmic design, and so on. One challenge is how do we evaluate what students actually learn through games? It helps to separate two levels. The first, performance in the game. Did they succeed, solve, collaborate? The second is learning from the game. Can they explain, transfer, and apply knowledge? Here are a few approaches, such as rubrics, reflection essays or oral debriefs, problem set linked to the game scenarios, or peer assessment. Also use pre-post tests or short quizzes to measure gains, but remember, the richness of GBL often lies in qualitative insights. To wrap up, game-based learning is not about turning your course into a playground. It's about strategically using play to build deep, transferable knowledge, especially in STEM, where abstract thinking, system navigation, and real-time problem solving are essential. Start small, test ideas, use existing resources, reflect, and iterate. Your goal is not to become a game designer, it's to become a better learning designer. And remember, what we said in the last video is not just play, it's practice for thinking. And thanks for joining, and have a nice day.